Hey guys, thanks for tuning into Straight to the Core, an in-depth, no-nonsense look at all things physical therapy, wellness, and the business of being healthy. We're your hosts. I'm Claire. I'm Mark's wife.
I'm Mark. I'm Claire's husband.
And today, very timely, we're talking about resolutions.
New Year's resolutions.
Which I hate just right off the bat. I hate that.
Well, I don't even know where it comes from.
Because like New Year, new me.
Yeah, it's just another day. The calendar's kind of made up anyway, but I think a lot of people make resolutions, which is different than goals, but not really.
Right.
So if you make goals for yourself, is that different than a resolution? I'm not sure.
I'm sure the statistic of how many people make New Year's resolutions.
I think everybody at least thinks about it.
3 in 10 Americans, including to Pew Research Center.
You're talking about 30% of people.
Young adults are most likely to make resolutions, with 49% of adults ranging in age from 18 to 29 reporting that they made at least one.
I feel like if you're not self-reflecting in some capacity every year or every month or every week or whatever, then it's too bad. But 30% seems very low.
In 2024, the most common resolutions were 20% of people said exercising more. 17% of people said either saving more money or improving physical health. 16% said eating healthier. 15% said being happy. Not happier, just happy. That's kind of sad. 13% said, I know. 13% said improving mental health. 12% said they want to learn something new, and 12% said losing weight, which I thought that was interesting. I would have thought that would have been like the number one thing.
We had a poll up at work that probably was very similar to that to see what people really cared about trying to change their lives. A lot of people were very much against it, but I think if you can be a little bit reflective about your year or about your week and try to change something realistic, I think it's a good thing to always evolve as a person. I don't think it's a bad thing to do a resolution, but just the word resolution seems to have like a negative connotation because how many people fail their resolution, Claire? Forbes magazine says 88% of people fail within, 28 days?
Baylor College of Medicine reports that 88% of people fail their New Year's resolutions before the end of January.
That's really sad. So 28 days, more or less.
Yeah. Fortune magazine calls the second Friday in January as Quitter's Day, which we already passed that, right? Yeah, because I don't know if that's like full weeks. I don't know if that's coming up.
Full disclosure, the gym was actually not that busy, and a few weeks ago, I read an article that said a lot of people that normally would start going to the gym this time of year because of a certain drug on the market. Less people are gym going now.
Injectables, because it's easier to
lose weight with an injection than to go actually be healthy and go to the gym. Okay.
U.S. News and World Report estimates that throughout all New Year's resolutions, that 80% of people have failed by February.
Okay.
So we're definitely somewhere between 80 and 90% of people within the first 2 months are not doing well.
Okay, so let's start positive here. Okay. Why do people make resolutions or goals for themselves for a new year? Why? What's the motivation? Stress from the holidays?
Yeah, I think there's probably some self-reflection in there, some introspective look there where someone's like, God, I gotta make changes, right?
Yeah, what did I accomplish this year? And what did I want to accomplish but didn't?
When you wake up hungover a little bit and you're like, I'm never drinking again.
On January 1st.
Yeah. Yeah, so you recognize that there are things that you want to change, and for some reason, the new year makes people feel like...
Diet starts Monday.
Yes, endless possibilities.
Yeah, okay, so people make them for various reasons. People generally will make them at the beginning of the year. I think people like to change things, in the spring. They're like, I got to get my summer body, kind of same thing. It's seasonal, that you don't make a summer body in the spring. You make it in the winter,
right? Or
you just keep it all year long, but I can digress. All right, so why do people fail?
Well, I think first off is even just the term New Year's resolution is this grandiose thing, right? Like you can make these broad sweeping comments, right? Like I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to
save more money.
Right. And 12 months.
Be a better spouse.
12 Not you. because you're already so perfect.
Yay.
You can make these grandiose comments and there's not really any accountability in the sense, right? Like if you say, oh, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. That's my New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Well, who's really, unless you have like a really good accountability partner in your spouse or your significant other or really good friend, who is really going to sit there and watch you like come in with your Starbucks on Monday morning and be like, I thought you were losing 20 pounds. Yeah, I have all year to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's 12 months. It's so far.
And I think a lot of it is not a lot of people share their resolutions. Sometimes they internalize them, which is fine. But if you're not accountable to yourself, obviously you couldn't accomplish this without the resolution. You probably need some kind of accountability in a spouse or a friend or a life coach or a trainer of some sort.
Well, and I think it's also easy because it's 12 months, right? Because it's this long process time. It's very easy to make those grandiose type of claims without any planning. And there's that old statement that, what is it? Failure to plan is planning to fail.
Correct.
Like you have to have, and we'll get into that here in a second just because we're just experts on this topic. But we get down to, when you get down to brass tacks, is that if you don't have a way to reach your goal, you haven't really made a goal. You've just like said something. Right?
Just thrown it out
it's
there.
It's just a dream.
And you're setting yourself up for failure. And every time you fail, you're going to feel bad about it, or you probably should. But you didn't have a plan.
So if you were somebody who's listening just right now within the first 6 minutes of listening to our podcast, if you were somebody who made one of those grandiose plans or statements and don't have a plan, sit down, write out what are the steps that you're going to make that. We do that very often.
Maybe by month, maybe by week, maybe by day.
We do that very often with our patients, right? We have long-term goals and short-term goals. So somebody comes in, they had ACL surgery. Somebody comes in, they, sprained their ankle and they're like, hey, I want to get back to sports. You can even take the timeline out of it. I want to get back to college sports, high school sports, whatever. Well, that's their goal. But what are you going to do about it? You have to address some short-term
steps
things
along
too,
the way.
right? So with athletes, with patients, you look at range of motion, you look at strength, you look at balance, you look at swelling, you look at pain, you look at all of these individual little things, but you have to set up those small goals to put them all together and make a big goal. If you're going to sit there and say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, I'm going to exercise more, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to food prep? Are you going to work out more? Are you going to track your calories? Are you going to add more vegetables in? Are you going to focus on macros differently? Are you going to work with a nutrition coach? Are you going to, there's all these little moving parts that I don't think that people look at. They just are like, I'm going to lose 20 pounds this year. I have not a flying F's way of knowing how to do it.
And I think therein lies a problem. I think you hit the nail on the head there. The human brain needs wins. They like wins. They like accomplishment. But if you set yourself to the end goal as your only goal, you're putting it in a place where it may not be very realistic or achievable, especially if it's a big goal. If you're a person who doesn't exercise and your goal is to go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, that's a massive amount of change in your life.
Yes.
Maybe that's a bigger goal than you should start with. Maybe you should write down when you're going to go. Maybe you start with 2 times a week and you do that for a month and see how it fits into your life.
Well, do you even have a gym program? Do you
know what you're doing?
Do you like going to the gym?
The same thing with dieting. How are you going to diet, and how are you going to not call it a diet, but a lifestyle change?
There's a book out there, and I know a lot of people have heard of it. It's called Atomic Habits. I think it's James Clear, I think is his name.
I have not read that, and you haven't let me.
It lives on my nightstand right next to me. But in essence, I'm shortening this and making it extremely summarized. But in essence, it's not, I want to work out more. What do I do? It's, if you want to work out more, if you want to be a gym goer, you have to act like a gym goer, right? So you have to say, I'm going to go to the gym. That's what a gym goer would do. If you want to lose 20 pounds, what would somebody who is 20 pounds, who had lost 20 pounds, what would they do?
Yeah.
And you look at it in those terms. It's a great book. You should read it. Maybe I'll let Mark read it, but
she doesn't want me to have really good habits.
I'll buy him his own copy. It's a good book. It's a good way to kind of reframe those. So you, just the same way every student within the medical field that has to do goal setting, because that's essentially what New Year's resolutions are,
correct,
right? We're making a 12-month goal that at the end of December, you're sitting there saying wow, I attained that goal, or at least made steps towards it.
And I think the problem is what you just said is there's an end goal. But if your goal is to lose 20 pounds or save some money, that's not the end. that's just the end of one part of the goal. Maybe the goal is to do more the next year, or maybe is to maintain that healthy body weight or healthy bank account forever. Maintenance is also a goal.
For example, Mark's New Year's resolution this year was to continue being the best, most awesome husband.
And that's not super easy. So you have to reflect deep within your soul every couple of days, and to make sure that you're doing everything. You're making the coffee, you're bringing it to your wife, you're saying all the sweet nothings that she wants, and she's getting cuddled adequately. All those things are important. And those aren't always that easy because they don't come naturally to most people.
Cuddling. She's cuddled adequately. Well, there's a fail there. I did in my small amount of research that I did for this, I came across something called the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method, which I thought it was interesting enough to write down. Is that it's 5 years, 4 months, 3 weeks, 2 days, and 1 hour in terms of how you're setting these goals. So 5 years is, what is your 5-year goal, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk about that a lot, not just like within medicine or within our business. I feel like we as humans talk about that. Where do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah,
what does 5 years look like?
I actually talk about that with my athletes all the time.
Yeah.
When they're aging 35, 40 years old, okay, do you want to train like you're 20? Where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years? Do you still want to train in 10 years? Because if you are, prehab and changing your training is going to be important now, not later.
I have a birthday coming up, and
big one.
It's not a big one.
They're all big after a certain age.
Touche. But just in the sense that, like, what does 5 years older, I'm not going to say my age, what does 5 years older than me look like? Like, what is my goal? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my body to look like? What do I want my health to look like? What do I want my financial health to look like? And those are...
What do you want your husband to look like?
Just the same.
Not realistic.
Maybe slightly more moisturized.
Oh, yeah. I forgot my moisturizer this morning. Yeah. It'll show.
Yeah, that's a New Year's goal.
Your YouTube people will notice I'm dry, apparently.
There'll be a comment. So they'll be like, Mark looks parched.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't even know what I was talking. Oh, 5-year goal, even more than a New Year's resolution. 5-year goals can be grandiose, right? You have some youngins who are out there. You get some 18-year-olds that are like, I'm going to be head of a president of a company in 5 years. Cool, that's great. Then you have to break that down. So,
how are you going to get there? Yeah.
Right. So 5 years, this is kind of a big jump, but your 5-year goal, let's say your 5-year goal is to be active, be healthy, be able to play with your kids. You're going to lose a significant amount of weight. You're going to save a significant amount of money, anything like that. Okay, so 4 months is a manageable amount of time that you can set your first kind of like mini goal, right? So a lot of research says that the optimal time for goal setting is about 3 months or 1/4 of the year when you're talking about New Year's resolutions. It's long enough to see significant progress. So you're motivated by the fact that you see significant progress in that amount of time, but it is short enough to maintain your motivation. Mm-hmm. And it's also short enough that it allows to avoid procrastination. So you're not going to sit there and say, oh, I got 5 years to reach that goal. What do I need to do it for now?
Yeah, that's a human problem too, procrastination.
So 3 months, 4 months, and I like that because you take that idea of this big grandiose goal and you come down to, okay, what's my very first step? What am I going to do from the very first thing? Maybe your goal is to lose 20 pounds. Maybe your goal is to save $10,000. What are you going to do in that first quarter of the year? January, February, March.
What changes are you going to make to your life to fit this goal in? And I think that's where people get in trouble is they make goals.
And they have no idea.
They don't have any time set aside to accomplish these goals.
So then next is 3 weeks. And that's a very short amount of time to set a habit, right? Like it takes 21 to 28 days to set a good habit. It takes like 3 days to create a bad habit.
How long does it take to break a bad habit?
Oh, I'm sure 21 to 28 days,
or more, because it becomes part of your life.
So that 3 week mark, 21 days, is really trying to get you just into the routine of doing something, right? 2 days, and I thought this was brilliant, 2 days is just that brain reset of, okay, I'm going to do something that I don't want to, right? Like you're going to get up and you're going to go to the gym. Nobody wants to get up and go to the gym at 5 a.m. when it's cold out. Excuse me. Getting all phlegmy.
I have a New Year's resolution for you.
I'm allergic to cats. I can't
sneezing.
Stop sneezing and coughing. It's just, there's cats everywhere.
It's your fault.
okay.
She's back. She's okay. Better now. Yeah.
Okay. 2 days. You can do something unpleasant for 2 days, right? Like you'll hear people in physique competitions or bodybuilding or things like that where they're like, oh, it sucks. Like nobody lives like this, but they're doing it for a finite period of time. 2 days is that first kind of toe in the water where you're saying, I'm doing something and I know it's going to suck, but I'm just going to do it for 2 days. It's going to be
uncomfortable and you're just going to get your body used to it.
And then depending on your mindset, you can either do 1 day or 1 hour. What is something that you can do right here and now that's going to immediately set you up towards reaching the next goal, whether that's your 2-day goal or your 3-week goal or your 4-month goal? What is something you can do in this hour? And it might be something as simple as saying, I'm going to write down a grocery list. That can take an hour.
I think writing things down is like one of the most important things of any goal.
Oh, absolutely.
And then an outline of when and how you accomplish it. You may be ahead.
I love me an outline.
Yeah. You can be ahead or you can be behind. It doesn't really matter. But if you're making progress towards the goal, it's still very important. I think that's very important.
Yes, because you have to see all these little like mini goals or mini steps that you're going to take that start adding up. And I think that's where that caught my attention. That 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing was pretty cool.
Like when we started a business, we weren't like, oh, let's like be the biggest clinic in town and see 12,000 patients a year. No. That's not.
I would like a patient.
Yeah. You're like, it's in the beginning, you're just like, I need to pay my bills.
Yeah.
And I'll work whenever I can and be the best I can at it every day. But that wasn't the end goal. That was the short-term goals. And you build on that and you grow with that and you evolve with it. But if you're at point A and you want to get to point Z, don't forget the rest of the alphabet because it's extremely important.
Exactly. Well, and I think that can change your mindset too. You can have these big grandiose goals and plans and New Year's resolutions, but you can't have these big grandiose plans without all of these like teeny tiny little steps that you have to take. Correct. And like I said, if you're going to sit there and say, my goal is to lose 20 pounds or my goal is to save $10,000, then you can have that be your big goal. And maybe the goalpost changes. Maybe you think, oh, I'm really going to do this in a year. And then as you're getting into it, you're like, it's going to take 18 months or it's going to take 2 years. That's fine. As long as you're continuously doing the steps. Yeah. And you might sit there and say, you know what? A very small step is if I'm going to save $10,000, have a nice little pad in my bank account, right? You're saving for a down payment for a house. You want to buy a sports car. You want to pay off loans or credit card debt.
I'm not going to Starbucks anymore.
Right.
There's $100 a month.
First step that you can take. And it might seem like, this kind of sucks. And if you look at the mentality of like, I'm never having Starbucks again, that's crappy. That like crushes my soul. It doesn't for me because I'm not very good. No, I'm a Scooters girl. For all of our fans across the nation that are listening, Scooters is a Midwest-based coffee house that was excellent. I can't remember whoever Scooters bought. They're that small little
Crane, maybe
Crane coffee. That was my absolute favorite. I'm very sad that Crane's gone, but
you digress.
I know. I hope that the owners of Crane retired with a lovely padded bank account, going back full circle. So you're going to save $10,000, right? And you sit there and you say, I'm not going to Starbucks today. Okay, that's a small positive step. But if you sit there and you think, I'm never going to Starbucks again, that might be crushing.
Too daunting.
Yes. But instead you say, today I'm not going to go to Starbucks because I made one little step.
Or I'm going to go once a week and that's it.
So then,
on Fridays.
So then that's how you build that goal is you say, I'm not going to go to Starbucks today. I'm going to set the goal for my slightly bigger goal is I'm only going to go to Starbucks 2 times a week instead of going every day. So then you sit there and you say, okay, today's Monday. Like I do really want coffee today. So you buy coffee on Monday. You have to keep in mind your big goal. And then you have to keep in mind the other little goals. And then Tuesday rolls around and you're like, I said I was only going to get coffee 2 times a week because my big goal is that I want to save $10,000. So then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you're not getting coffee.
Yeah.
And I think that's people either have like the big grandiose plans and they have no idea what steps they have to take, or they stumble and they get tripped up by the steps that they have to take and they think this is it for the rest of my life. I can never have French fries again. I can never have Starbucks again. I can never sleep in again because I have to go to the gym every single morning. That's not how it works.
No, I mean, the human brain likes to be where it is. It likes homogeny, just like the body. If you're used to doing certain things, it wants to keep doing those because it's used to them and that's normal. Even if it's terrible for you. If you drink, a pint of vodka every day, your body wants that, and it'll be sick if you stop doing it. But
Right.
the opposite is also true as well.
So some reasons why people fail in their New Year's resolutions include setting goals that are too idealistic or unachievable, going too hard too quickly, lack of motivation, not setting the right goals, not expecting changing habits to be difficult, and then expecting to turn over this new leaf on January 1. Just, hey, it's brand new, it's different, I'm new year, new me. No, new year, and it's probably the same old unmotivated you.
Yeah, nothing really changed.
Right. What is that quote about motivation is like bathing? Where you don't expect it to last, you have to do it daily.
To do it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have to become self-motivated. If you're looking to an external factor or someone's idealistic view of what you should be, that's not a great motivating force for most people. They need to find it intrinsically. If I get asked this question all the time, what is the best type of workout? It's the one that you enjoy and that you'll do. Mm-hmm. And that's actually a very blanketed answer, but it's true. If you don't like exercising, you're going to have to find a way to like it. If you hate it every day in every way, it's going to be real hard. Real hard. Right.
Well, I'll use myself as an example, is that when I used to do triathlons, I really liked racing triathlons, but during the off season when I would focus a little more on strength training, I enjoyed that a lot more. And then I would go more toward, the season would ramp up and I'd be like, I'm still strength training, but I can't do it as much because I have more cardio to do and all this stuff. And it became very clear to me is that I was probably a healthier person when I did a little bit of both, because I did more of the things that I enjoyed doing, but I still did kind of those other things that I was like, well, I have to for my big end goal, right? Like I have to put in the training because I have this race that I want to do. And I enjoy doing the race, but not every single part of that training needed to be unpleasant. I could still do things that I enjoyed doing.
Yeah, people need goals to set for. If they just train to train and to maintain, a lot of people can't do that. And a lot of people aren't self-motivated enough to do that. And maybe they should figure out a way to do that. I'm not really a good person that can motivate people just extrinsically. But
I think that's something that goes in with goal setting as well, though, is that what's your motivation, right?
Why do you want to have $10,000 in your bank account?
Right.
Or
is it because you want
lose
to
weight?
buy a house, buy a sports car? Is it that you want to lose weight because you want to be able to play with your kids? Is it, you want to make sure that you're making appropriate changes in your health because you had a health scare or, something along those lines? Is keeping obviously those big motivating factors in mind, but then also small motivating factors as well.
Yeah. It's all part of the game.
Well, without getting too personal, do you want to share, put out into the universe what our goals are?
Personal goals?
Sure. Well, either. I mean, for me, it's all the same.
It's not all the same, but it's similar. Business goals are always different, I think, than personal goals, but we're so tied to it, it's kind of all in the same. All right, what's your number one goal for the year?
Well, Mark absolutely hates this, but I try to pick like a phrase or a word that is my goal, and that's kind of part of it. I like that you said shopping and not spending money, because my return rate of purchases is pretty high, right?
You have somebody who helps you with that, and that person is an enabler.
My goal for 2025, just in general, my word is intentionality. Is that, and I know Mark agrees with me because we've talked about this, he just doesn't want to be the person to say it, is that so much of what we do from a business aspect is reactionary. A patient wants to come in, they're like, well, I missed my appointment, I want to come in, can you squeeze me in the next day? And then all of a sudden I'm cutting my own workout short because I'm going in early.
Yeah.
And that's not that I'm not happy to do that, and that I know that will still exist, but having a little more intention behind, like, well, no, I can't do that on Tuesday, Thursdays, because Tuesday, Thursdays is when I get up and I work out. Mm-hmm. So if somebody else makes a mistake, I need to be better at still being able and willing and ready to accommodate them and try to fix that problem, but not at detriment to my own intentions.
Yeah. When you start a business, you self-sacrifice yourself and your life for the business. And now that you were in year 10,
right? Like we need to
it's
kind of
probably starting to be time that we need to.
And then I think with like what we talked about is, saving more money, losing weight, exercising more, being healthier, like all of those things being intentional. We were talking last night about how in probably like the mid of our business, so a couple of years ago, we used to go out to dinner on Friday nights, and we really, really liked that because at that time it was like, oh, it was a crazy week. Let's go out and like celebrate the wins. Well, now Mark and I have kind of gotten into the habit of coming home on a Friday night and making some chicken strips in the air fryer. And that's just kind of like a nice low-key thing. Like we'll make a cocktail, we'll sit there, we'll have some chicken strips, we'll watch a show, watch a movie. And that has kind of become our thing. And then we go out to dinner and kind of celebrate the week's wins on Saturdays. And that's been fun. But even keeping that in mind of intentionalities, like that's what I look forward to on Friday nights, right? So don't eat like an asshole on Thursday and on Wednesday.
Language?
Sorry, an a-hole.
When I have to post this, I have to decide if it has explicit language or not.
Sorry, Mom. She doesn't listen either. I know my mom's like, my baby. Don't eat like an a-hole.
Correct nomenclature there.
Because you have that intentionality. Yes. Like if I'm exhausted and I'm tired and I want to throw something in the air fryer on a Thursday night, then you kind of have to think again, that big picture. What do I want to do? Because I know I want to do that on Friday night. So my intention of it, it's just as easy to sit there and make a healthier food option. So that's mine, intentionality. And with shopping, I don't want to just buy things to buy. If you happen to be in the clinic here within the last 3 weeks that I was talking about this KitchenAid mixer, right?
Oh my good God.
Intentionality. I got it. And I was like, that's just, my intention was to have like a pretty thing on our countertop, and there's just no point to it. Got it. I didn't love it. I loved it, but not more than what we had. And so it went back. I was being intentional.
Good job. Appreciate that.
And now girl math, I have like $800 to go spend.
You could just keep it.
Yes, I could. Anyway, any build on that for you?
I just want the business to become a little bit more autonomous and develop talent enough that in others that allows us to work a more normal schedule, perhaps. I had a birthday recently. I'm 45 years old, so I'm closer to 90 than the day I was born. So that kind of hits you in the gut when you figure that out, and you're like, wow, I got to kind of start transitioning for the next 15 years because that's my retirement plan. Mm-hmm. The business isn't ready for my retirement, so let's move it in a direction of a somewhat more autonomy.
Yeah. So when we sit there on your birthday, which happens to be New Year's Eve, if you guys don't know, that's Mark's birthday. When we're sitting there on your birthday, hopefully on like a beach somewhere, and we're reflecting throughout the year, that's one of those things that we can sit there and say, okay, we've taken steps towards it, but that goalpost or that goal line continuously moves because we don't know.
The economy changes.
Right. We don't know what that
force changes.
There's not a specific date or end date for retirement, for us at least. But all of the changes along the way, like we've had to make already. Today is what, the 13th? 12th. The 12th. We've already had to make some decisions for our business and our lives within the first 12 days of the year. And I'm happy with all the decisions that we've made so far.
Yeah. And if I can give somebody some advice running a business, you have to remember that you're running the business for you. Don't accommodate every single person every single time and feel bad about holding people accountable, mm-hmm. because at the end of the day, you're going to have to do all the extra work. And if it's you doing everything, you may not need as many people.
Right.
You just have to find good people. Different podcast. Labor market's weird. Not my favorite. Well,
and I think my last piece of advice to close out this particular podcast is, and I have heard this all over, and I think it takes on different styles depending on what your goal is, but like growth is uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. So change is difficult. Humans do not like change.
As our business was growing, it became difficult in terms of like we work a lot. I mean, Mark and I are in the clinic probably close to 65 hours a week, and then another probably 5 to 10 hours over the weekends that we're working. That's uncomfortable, but it's also uncomfortable in a different way when you have to make hard decisions that, you know, affect your business positively or affect your goal positively.
Correct.
Right?
Change is always difficult,
Yes.
and it should be hard. If it wasn't hard, you'd have done it already.
Right. Is it difficult to not get Starbucks on a cold day when you're like, man, I am exhausted and this Folgers just isn't quite as good as my caramel white chocolate mocha latte, licious, whatever? Yeah, of course. But you have to look towards, you're taking steps towards your goal. Is it difficult to get out of bed at 5 a.m. when you have to go to the gym and it's snowing and it's like 5 degrees out? Yes, of course. But that change is uncomfortable. But it also sucks to sit there on December 31st and say, another year went by that I didn't lose weight.
Yeah.
Does it suck to not get pre-approved for a home loan because you're like, man, did I really need all of those Starbucks?
I don't have enough money for a down payment.
Right. So that would be my closing shot. I'm not an expert at it by any means, and I have to keep reminding myself that like growth is uncomfortable, change is hard, change is uncomfortable. You just have to pick which hard you're willing to.
But not growing is also hard.
Right. Which hard you're going to die by, essentially.
Yeah. But make your goals realistic and make them achievable incrementally along the way. Don't look at Z and be like, I'm an A, I'm going to go to Z right away. No, it doesn't work that way.
All those letters in between.
Yep. And they're all important steps because they actually change the position of Z as you go.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Your goalpost will change through your goals.
Now, if your goal is to be a healthier version of yourself with less pain and more mobility / strength / stability, and you want to check us out, then check us out at www.coreomaha.com, our Facebook page, Core Physical Therapy and Sports Performance, our Instagram handle, Core Omaha. We're on Twitter, but we don't ever post, and we're not on TikTok.
YouTube.
We're on, yes, thank you.
You want to see Claire's outfits on our,
Yeah, I'll link all my outfits
on our
below.
podcast. Oh,
No, I won't.
No, she
I won't, actually. But yeah, set your goals, set your steps to go towards it. Reach out to Mark and Claire if we can help you with those goals along the way, if it's something pertinent.
And remember, when you're trying to accomplish something, this isn't like an end date. If you're really trying to do something with your life, make sure that you're trying to integrate it in there permanently. Mm-hmm. Because being healthy or saving money, those are lifestyle changes. They're not just a temporary thing.
Right. And you're not expected to know all the answers. Reach out to the experts reach out to a dietitian, reach out to, a personal trainer.
Or a finance manager or a retirement planner, somebody who has a really good understanding of how to accomplish goals.
Utilize those options around you and reach out to the experts in the field that can help you get to where you want to be.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to find someone smarter than you.
That's right. With that, I'm Claire.
And I'm Mark.
We're Core Physical Therapy and Sports Performance. We're out.
We're out.